Okay, so today we're gonna do an exercise. It's the first exercise in chapter 4. It's this little chain link thing here. Um, can everybody see my screen? Cool. All right. So we're gonna do this little guy. I already made it, but I'll go through it again and show you all. So it's on page 4-1. It's that first exercise in chapter 4. So let's actually just flip over to 4-3. That's the beginning of the exercise. And let me do a new part here. So before we get started, does anyone have any questions or concerns about the lab from this past week? Everybody good on that front? Nothing you want to go over? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and start this exercise then. Just jump right in. So we're going to do a new sketch. We're going to start on the front plane. And we're going to start with a slot, which is this in the lower left corner of your sketch tools here. So we're going to do a straight slot, that first option. And we're going to start at the origin, and we're going to go directly to the right with a horizontal line. You're going to see this dotted line. So you're going to click a second time, and that's going to define the length of the slot, and then the third click is going to define the radius of the slot. So just drag your mouse outward until it's, looks like a slot like that, and then we'll dimension it. So actually, before we dimension it, we're going to go ahead and put in a couple of circles on the 2 points, the 2 end points of that center line there. So try and make them about the same size. Mine are not even close to the same. But we'll go ahead and start dimensioning. So looks like we want a radius on the slot of, actually before we do any dimensions, let's delete that and let's make sure we have the right units here. I think they want us to do this one in IPS. So let's change to IPS. Alright, and then we gotta go back into our sketch. So let's go ahead and start dimensioning. This is gonna be 0.5. We're going to add a relation to those 2 circles. And we're going to make them equal. So click the outside of each circle, like so. And then make them equal. We don't want that dimension in there. Alright. Now, and they're both going to be 0.325 inches. And then the distance between the 2 circles, or the distance of that, the length of that center line in your slot is going to be 1.25. Alright, and then the next step is going to be to extrude that slot. So we're going to go to our Features tab and do an extrude. The end condition, or direction 1, is going to be mid-plane. Oh yeah, no worries. Thanks for the heads up there. I'll go ahead and put you in real quick. All right. So back to our exercise. Is everybody still with me so far? Virgil, if you missed it, we're on page 4-3. We're doing the first exercise in chapter 4. Cool. All right, no worries. Sounds good. So we're going to go midplane, and the distance is going to be 0.75. And it should look about like that. Click OK. All right. So now we're going to create some bore holes. So one of the things that this exercise goes into is how to how to revolve and how to mirror objects in your sketches or in your parts. So we're going to start with these bore holes. We're going to put them on one side, and then we're going to mirror them to the other side as well. So the first step is going to be to do another sketch. And we're going to put it on the front face of our part that we just made. Are you talking about the outside of the radius of the slot? Okay. It should the slot should automatically make both sides the same. That's kind of built into that shape. So, did you click right on that edge of the radius there, or did you click on the straight part? Okay. I'm not sure why it wouldn't have defined. Let's go back into sketch 1 real quick. So you should be able to just click that edge and it'll give you a radius for it. Is it not letting you click the edge of the slot, or what's going on? Oh, okay. So we made the circles equal. These outside edges, we just added the radius of 0.5. So they're already going to be equal. That's built into the shape. So you shouldn't have to add a relation to anything on the slot. Yeah, the equal relation was for these two circles that are in the slot. Did that help? Okay. All right. So if everybody else is still with me, I'm going to go ahead and do these circles in our next sketch. So it tells you in the book, this part's a little bit tricky. So you need to have your circle command. You have to click on your circle tool up here. And then you have to find the center of this hole. So it's only going to work if you have your circle tool in use there. And you'll be able to see the center here. I don't know if everybody is following what I'm saying, but once you see the center of this hole in your original sketch, click there, and then you'll be able to make your second circle off of that center point. So the first one was easy because the origin is our center point, so you can just click on that, but the second one you got to find that center point. The book also kind of goes through how to find that. So, all right. And then again, we're going to make those two circles equal. Click OK. And then we're going to cut a couple of counter bores where those circles are. So we're going to do extruded cut. And we're going to make the direction blind. The distance is going to be 0.15. 0.15. Now let's make sure they're going into your shape here. So if they're not going this direction, if you're not seeing this line here, if it's like somewhere out here, it's not showing up, then try clicking this. So you want it going into the shape that you already made. All right. And then click OK. And you should see these counter bores here in your part that you just made. So now we're going to mirror them so that you also have counter bores on this back side. So we want to select our front plane. We're going to click mirror over here. Features to mirror, we want, so this is your feature manager tree over here. This will show up and you'll be able to see everything you already did. The feature you want to mirror is this cut extrude 1. When you click that, it'll show up right here. And when you swing this around, you'll be able to see these holes on this side are also going to be counterbored. Does everyone follow that? So you're going to have a counterbore on both sides. All right. You got it? Great. Okay. Also, if anybody new has showed up, just go ahead and let me know you're here. I don't see anyone new yet, but okay. I just didn't get everybody for attendance right at the beginning, so. Which, where I mirrored it or before that? Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and redo it just because it's a little confusing, just so everybody can see what I did. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to click front plane here on the left in your left menu here. Just go ahead and click front plane. You'll see the orange outline of it show up. And then when you click on it, it's going to turn blue. And then you're going to click the mirror tool up here at the top. And it's going to show up, it's going to give you this menu here on the left. It's going to say mirror face plane, and you're going to have front plane in there. And then for features to mirror, you want to click the little down arrow here in the upper left corner, and it's going to show your features that you already did. And then you're just going to click on this cut extrude 1, and that's going to show up in here. So that's the feature that you want to mirror. And that's all you do, and then you just click OK. And it should show up on the other side. So that feature that you added to this front side, it's going to mirror it to the back side as well. Oh, no worries. So it only shows up when you click mirror. I guess it shows up if you click one of these planes over here. So I'm going to click front plane. Maybe not. Okay, so when you click features, I think we're back in a sketch or something. Yeah, okay. I'm going to click front plane. I'm going to click features, and I'm going to click mirror up at the top. Does everyone see that? Okay, so click mirror, and then everything up here is going to become grayed out. You're going to have this menu here on the left. And then just to the right of that, you're going to see part 1 up at the top here. And there's a little down arrow next to part 1. You're going to click that, so you'll see this drop down menu here. And you're going to click mirror. I guess it's mirror 2 now because I did it twice. But you're going to click that mirror, that feature that you already added to the front, and it's going to mirror it to the back of your part as well. Are you with me? Is it? Okay. So I think what you're doing is what you want to do is you're going to click front plane and you're going to click mirror. And then you should see this menu here. So the order here is really important. If you click the wrong thing, then it's not going to do it right. So you want to make sure you're exited out of everything. So you're not in a sketch. You're not doing anything else. You just click front plane and then you click mirror. And you'll get this menu of what you want to mirror. And in this first box here, you should have front plane. If you don't have front plane in there, you can delete whatever is in there and click front plane over here on the right. And so make sure that's showing up there. And then in features to mirror, you want to click on that. The box will turn blue. And the feature that you're mirroring is this mirror. Sorry, not the mirror. The cut extrude. So once you click that, that'll show up right here. And that should be the only thing you need to do. And it'll show up in yellow on the back of your part. All right. So if everyone is comfortable with that, I'll go ahead and move on to the next step. So the next thing that we're going to do is we want to see the top face of our part here. So we want to be right about here. And in order to get to that face, actually, you can click on it and then you can click normal too, and it'll zoom right to that face. So you're looking at it head on. And the book also tells you that there's a way to rotate your part so that you're still looking at that face head on, but it's pointing in a different direction. So for instance, if yours is straight up and down and you want it sideways, let's see, you're going to hold the Alt key and press the left arrow. Let me see if this is, yeah. So if you hold down the Alt key and you press your arrows, it'll rotate your part in different directions. So just left and right. Alright, but however you get there, you want to be looking at this face head on, and then you want to draw a couple of center lines on it. So you're going to do a center line going across like this, and then another center line going from that one out to the side. So let's go back. We're going to click that face and we're going to sketch. And then we're going to click the little down arrow next to line. And we're going to select the center line option. So it's important that you use a center line here, because if not, then your mirroring won't work. It only will really recognize a center line as something that you can mirror your sketch around. So make sure you're using a center line. You're going to find kind of the middle of this part. Let's see if, I'm not sure if, oh, okay. So if you hover over it, you'll see the middle there. Let's go back into the center line tool. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah. So so you're mirroring it around the front plane, which should be where you started your first sketch. So that front plane, if you extruded this part correctly, it'll be right in the middle of the part. That's why we did the mid-plane extrude for your first extrude. And then so you're mirroring around the mid-plane, and the part that you're mirroring, or the feature that you're mirroring, is that cut extrude that you did right after. No, so you want to select the front plane of the, yeah, so, yeah. Alright, so we should have a center line down the middle here from top to bottom. And again, if you hover over this line, you'll be able to see the midpoint of your part here. It'll show up like a little orange square. It's going to be pretty tiny, but then you'll draw your center line from top to bottom and end it at the midpoint of that bottom edge. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to do another center line. You're going to start it at the midpoint of this first center line. So you'll see that little box there. When you hover over it, it turns orange. You're going to click that, and then you're going to go directly out to the side. And you're just going to go out off of your part. So it extends out past the end of your part here. Alright, and then it's telling us that we want to select that vertical center line, so this one, the first one that we did, and then click the dynamic mirror command. So I think the way I did it is I went into my tools here. I went to sketch tools, and then if you go down a little ways, you'll see dynamic mirror. It's this mirror tool with the little lightning bolt on it. It's not in my top menu there, so I used my tools menu to get to it. So if anyone has trouble finding that, let me know. Once you click dynamic mirror, you're going to go ahead and make a rectangle. So I think we want a corner rectangle. Yeah. And let's see it. We're going to start it on one side of this horizontal center line that we made. And we're going to go out, and again we're going to go past the end of our part. The book doesn't actually give you a dimension for this rectangle. So you want it to go to the end of your part, obviously. That line turns orange when you're on it, so let's try just clicking right there. And you'll see it shows up mirrored on the other side of your part as well. So that's what the dynamic mirror tool does. Is the reason it's dynamic is because it's going to mirror sketches as you draw them. So you don't have to go in and mirror it after the fact. So we're going to click OK, and then we're going to dimension those rectangles. So the first thing we want to do actually, we're not going to dimension it yet. We're going to add a relation. So we're going to make this rectangle symmetric around this center line that we drew. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this line, this top line on this rectangle, the bottom line on the rectangle, and that center line. And then we're going to click symmetric. And it's going to make the rectangle symmetric around this center line. It's important that you click these 3 lines and not like this part of the rectangle or something, because what you're actually doing is making this top line and this bottom line symmetric around the center line. So we're going to click OK. And then we're going to add our dimensions. So the first dimension it tells us to add is we're going to make this these 2 lines on the rectangle, we're going to make them 0.23 inches away from each other. So 0.23. Alright, and then we're going to make the rectangle 0.3 inches tall. So click that top line and that bottom line, and then we're going to make this 0.3. Alright. And everything should be fully defined now. Interesting. So, are you still in that sketch? Are you still editing the sketch? Okay. No, so this is a new sketch. So if you look at what I have here, I have Boss Extrude 1 with Sketch 1 under it. And then Cut Extrude 1 has another sketch. And then we've got a third sketch down here, which is what we're doing the mirroring in. So in that third sketch is on this top face of this part here. So you can see it's on the top face. And if you're in that sketch, you should be able to click this center line here to mirror about. If it's not a center line, if it's just a regular line, then it might not let you mirror. So you need to make sure that you're using the center line tool right here. This center line right here. Yeah, it's blue when I hover over it. Yeah, so you're mirroring about this this top to bottom center line right here. The vertical one. Okay, you should have sketched it at the beginning of this sketch, so that might be the problem, is that you didn't sketch that center line. So that was the first step, is this center line is right in the middle of that top face. And then you did another center line going out to the side. The only purpose of the second center line was to put this rectangle that you're mirroring right in the middle of the part, like top to bottom, if that makes sense. So that's the only thing you're using that one for. The one you're mirroring about is this vertical one that you did first. I don't think so. I'm not sure why that's happening. If it doesn't, you can also just make your rectangle longer so it goes past the edge of the part. The only reason we're sketching these rectangles is to do a cut extrude. So if you make it longer, actually, and I did that in my first part that I showed you guys at the beginning, in this one, I drew my rectangles and I just dragged them out to here because it wasn't highlighting for me either when I did this sketch. So if you do that, just make sure you dimension the length and make sure you make it long enough so it goes out. But in order to make the whole thing fully dimensioned, you still want to give it a dimension there. So on here, let's see if I dimension that. It's probably going to tell me I can't dimension it. Yeah, but it would be make it driven. I'll just do that. It would be about 1.01. Oh, I can't change it, of course. But yeah, if you make it longer than this, like if you make it 1.02, it'll be fine. When you cut extrude, it's just going to cut through the whole shape, which is what you want. So actually, another thing on I should. Do you have the SolidWorks? Mine is SolidWorks 2019 Basic Tools, but I think they come out with a new edition every year, but I think it's really similar. Are you seeing something? Hmm. It's so are you on page 4-7? Okay. So, yeah, so I'm ahead of you. So this mirroring has nothing to do with this sketch that we're in now. So you shouldn't need those lines for mirroring. That was prior to doing this sketch on the top of the part. Oh, okay. Okay. I thought I didn't know which step you were on. Sorry. Yeah, for mirroring, what you want to mirror about is the front plane. So see that glowing orange line there that's showing up on mine? That's the front plane. So if you're here, you're going to click the front plane. You'll see that big orange, that big orange square. And that shows you where the front plane is. So that's what you want to mirror about for these counter bore holes. Sorry about that. I didn't know where you were in the exercise. So is anyone caught up with me, or do we need to go back and go over anything again? Okay. All right. Um, and obviously I'm gonna post this online. I think I have all my bugs worked out now, so it should actually post. So if anyone is getting lost, you can always go back and try and work through it on your own as well. Hopefully I can keep you all with me, but I know sometimes that's hard to do over the, virtually because I can't see what you're working on. So, all right. So the next step is going to be to do an extruded cut with this last sketch that we're on. So we're going to go back to features. We're going to do an extruded cut. Direction is going to be through all. And you want to make sure it's going the right direction. It is on mine. If not, then again, click these double arrows to reverse the direction. And then you're just going to click OK. And you should have this shape. So the last couple of steps are actually pretty simple. We're going to do fillets on the edges. And so one thing, I don't know if you all had FSME with Tom. When I took FSME, he told us about fillets, which is a type of welding. He was teaching us the welding part of the class, and he said normally you would pronounce it fillet, but when you're welding, it's pronounced fillet. And everybody thought that was hilarious. I'm not really sure why it was so funny, but yeah, I guess when you're talking about this type of like a mechanical fillet is pronounced fillet. I don't know why that is. We were trying to get Tom to tell us. I don't think he had any idea either. But he told us it's because people who come up with these mechanical drawings are usually complete imbeciles and they don't know how to pronounce anything. So, I don't know. I don't know how to take that, but anyway, I guess it's supposed to be pronounced fillet. I've heard people pronounce it fillet too. I'm not really sure, but that's why I always say fillet. In case anyone was wondering, I do know how to say things. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. We're gonna click the fillet tool here. If I can find it, here it is. And we're going to click the items that we want to fillet. They're all going to be 0.032 inches is going to be the dimension, or the radius of our fillets. So we want, for fillet type, we want that first one on the left. For items to fillet, we're just going to click all these edges. So we want these outer edges, and we want these inner edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we want these little inside edges as well. It's kind of hard to see once you've got all your little details going there. And then it all looks like it's a really big radius on here. But we're going to change the dimension from 0.1 to 0.032. And it should look about like this. So you're just going to have little rounded edges on all of the outer edges of your part. You're not doing anything to those holes with the counter bore. Just all the outer edges and all the inside edges where you did your final extruded cut. So go ahead and click OK. Let's spin it around and make sure I didn't miss anything. Looks like I got all of them. Okay. And then we're going to add chamfers to our holes here. And it looks like they want chamfers on the outer edge of the counter bore and then also on that inner edge. I don't believe we're doing anything to the inside holes here, so those are just going to stay the shape that they are. But we're going to fillet these, or we're going to chamfer these edges. So that's also under the fillet tool. If you click the little down arrow, you'll see chamfer underneath. For items to chamfer, let's see. Yeah, for chamfer type, you want this first one here again. For items to chamfer, you're going to do these radiuses of these holes that we made on both sides. And it's not actually giving me a direction or a dimension. I'm not really sure why that is. It should show chamfer parameters. Okay, here it is. I guess I'm just blind. So yeah, for this dimension here, again, we want 0.032, and it's going to show up as these funny little yellow circles. We want 45 degrees right here for the angle. We're going to click OK, and you should have chamfers on all of your holes. And again, spin it around to make sure you got all of them. Make sure you don't have weird chamfers showing up where you don't want them. Sometimes it's easy to click the wrong edge when you're doing this stuff, so it's always good to double check. And that is the full exercise. Does anyone have any questions? Yellow squares? That's kind of weird. Are you sure you clicked the right edges to chamfer? Okay. Yeah, because before you click OK, you're going to see those yellow outlines giving you kind of a preview of what you're doing. And if those outlines show up weird, if it doesn't look right, one thing you can look at, actually, so we'll do chamfer, and I'm just going to, it's not going to work because I already did them, but we'll just click some stuff. And each thing that you click should show up as edge whatever over here. So you can take a look at that and see what edges you have showing up. Or like if you click a face, it's going to show up as face. And that means it's just going to chamfer everything, every edge on that face, or every edge that touches that face. So you don't want any faces in this exercise. All you're clicking is some edges. So you can just delete it. You can just click that whatever it is showing up in here and just hit the delete key. You can also like just escape out of here and try again. If your yellow preview lines are not looking right to you. Yeah. Mhm. I can't hear you, Virgil. You still there? You were getting an error called something? No worries. That might mean that there's a problem with your sketch. I think I would have to see it, but it probably means there's a problem with your sketch and it's having it can't actually define what you're mirroring. Um, there's a few reasons why that would happen, but I would double check all your dimensions, make sure that your sketch is fully defined. Um, Make sure that your whatever it is that you're mirroring about is fully defined. So are you the thing that you're mirroring, are you talking about that first one with the counterbores or are you talking about the second one with the rectangles? When you're putting the counterbores on the backside of the Okay. Okay. Yeah, I won't be here tomorrow, but Wednesday. Um, but yeah, um, it might be, are your, so did you already did the extruded cut for your first set of counterbores? And were your counterbores fully defined? Okay, so so make sure that your first extruded cut, your first cut extrude for the first set of counterbores, make sure that the sketch under that is fully defined. Actually, and mine is not. Let me see why. I might not have dimensioned these circles. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't dimension my circles, and somehow it worked anyway. So, or 0.5. But, make sure those are fully defined, and make sure that your cut extrude one there, make sure that that's completed. Um, Make sure that everything in that looks like the book. So if you go to edit that, make sure that all of these options here are the same as what's in the book. Make sure that your counterbores are actually going in and not out. So see how when I turn it sideways, I can see those little yellow circles inside the shape? You want those, yeah. So if you get it backwards, they're gonna, okay, cool. hmm I mean, it will affect other things, but if you're doing it correctly, like I just did that, I just edited that sketch 3 because I realized I didn't ever dimension my circles for the counterbore. So if you click edit sketch, it'll show you that sketch. So like my sketch 3 here is those two circles, and I can change those now. I'm in that sketch. I can add something to that sketch if I want to. If I were to put a rectangle right here in the middle, and then click OK, it would add that. So now I have a counterboard rectangle thing here, and it mirrored it to the other side because anything that I do in that sketch, it's gonna kind of have a trickle down effect to all the features that I added after that. So like I mirrored that whole sketch. So when I add a rectangle, that's also going to be mirrored. I also cut extruded that whole sketch. So when I add that rectangle, it's going to cut extrude the same way it did everything else in the sketch. Um, so you can see if you edit those sketches, it will affect other things, but you'll be able to predict how it's going to affect other things based on what you did after. Does that kind of make sense? uh, so there's a few things you can do. If you look at your top bar here, you should have like these little drop downs, and one of them is this little thing. Um, Apply scene. It applies a specific scene to your model. Let's see, what else do we have? I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember what it is that you change. So if I make it plain white, it's going to change what it looks like a little bit. It gets like kind of weird and luminescent there. Um, so yeah, so I think this is where you change the appearance. You can do like a gray backdrop. I think these are all actually just changing the background. So I had 3-point faded. Yeah, I think that was just changing the background on me. Might be this one. Okay. Yeah. So you can change what your material looks like in here. You can make it white plastic. You can make it red plastic, blue plastic. Or you can make it metal. I think what I had was like aluminum or something. Just polished aluminum. I think that might be the default. You can make it brushed aluminum. You can do all kinds of stuff. So you can play around with that all day. I mean, you can do all kinds of cool things in here. You can do zinc. It's kind of neat. So one thing that we might go into later on actually is looking at the material properties of parts that you make. So you can actually go in and change what your part is made out of, and then you can find out like what the density of your part is, how much it's going to weigh, stuff like that. You can, any part you do, it's not going to change based on the material, but um, it's going to change based on, you know, what shape your part is or how big it is. You can see what the mass of it is. Let's see if I can remember where to see that. We'll go into it later on in the quarter, but it's kind of cool because you can find out like exactly what all the properties of your part are. I'm just kind of jumping around in here now, so I don't really know, but um, yeah. Oh, here we go. Maybe that's not it. But yeah, you can do all kinds of different cool stuff. So we'll get into that later on. I'm not gonna go super into that today, but yeah, you can change what it looks like all day long. You can just go in there and pick different materials, different finishes, all kinds of things. So I'm gonna go back to aluminum. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. So let's see on the chamfer. Uh, yeah, there's a couple of things. So one is like if you have something selected, it's gonna be blue. Let's try going in here. Are you talking about like these blue dotted lines that you're seeing in here? Okay. So, the big thing to worry about uh, if you're looking to see if it's fully defined is you want to see down here in the lower right on the edge of the window, it's gonna say fully defined or not. So like this sketch is underdefined because I added in that rectangle that I never dimensioned. I just did that to show you guys. But if I delete that rectangle, now it's fully defined. So the other way you can tell is over here on the left in your menu. You'll know if a sketch is underdefined because there's going to be a little like a little dash next to it. So I'll go ahead and add a rectangle back in here. I'll do a different rectangle now. And I'll click OK. And that rectangle is not dimensioned. So you're going to see underdefined down here. But since you're still editing the sketch, it's not going to show up over here on the left. So when we exit sketch, you're going to see by sketch 3, see how I have the little dash inside the parentheses? That tells you that it's underdefined. So when you're all done with your part, if you go and you click your down arrows so that you can see all of your sketches, if you see one with a little dash inside parentheses like that, you know that that one is underdefined. So you want to go back in, go edit, and see if you can find what isn't defined. And then when you're in a sketch, the easiest way to tell is that the outlines are going to be blue. Because by looking at this dash here, by looking at this underdefined down here, you know your drawing is underdefined, but you don't know what part of it is underdefined. So that's where the blue lines come in handy, is that it'll show you exactly what it is that you need to dimension. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think, I think like an extrude or a cut or a chamfer or anything like that, it's not going to let you do it if it's not fully defined. So, so like say we exit this sketch. Um, let's see. Let's just do a new sketch. So sketch 6. Let's go ahead and make a circle somewhere. And then let's say we want to extrude the circle. So there's not really a way to extrude your circle without defining it. It's already basically fully defined in this menu. It tells you the direction it's going and the depth. And you can change this depth, but like if you leave that field blank, it's not going to let you do anything. It's going to tell you please enter a number. So it doesn't really let you do any features other than a sketch without fully defining them first. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think there's a couple of different things that like it means when something is like if it's light blue, it just means that you have it selected somehow. Um, if you have like dimensions that are showing up blue, I'm not really sure what that means. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'd have to look into that, but if it says it's fully defined, then it's fully defined, basically, So I wouldn't worry too much if something is blue if all of your sketches are fully defined. They don't have that little parentheses with a dash next to them, and so on and so forth. Then I wouldn't worry about it too much. Yeah. Any other questions? No? All right. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and end this for today then, if everybody's feeling good about it. I'll post it right after this. I'm fingers crossed, but I'm pretty sure I actually recorded everything this time. So, um, I'll send you all a message as soon as it gets posted. It takes a few minutes, like sometimes like half an hour for things to upload to YouTube, but I'll go ahead and do that and send you a message. If anybody has any questions or concerns about their lab, feel free to shoot me a message and I'll check tonight. I know there's someone, I was going to look at someone's when I got home here. Um, and, oh, actually, Cyrus, was it you that wanted to, um, I think you wanted to go over something from last week? Is that you? Okay, let's go ahead and do that after this. I'm gonna go ahead and end the lecture if everybody's good. Any other questions? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, good question. Oh man. All right, what is it? Lab 3 that we're on? Yeah. All right. So, this is our lab for this week. I think I already published it, right? Oh, okay. Now it's published. I just clicked it. Sorry. So we're gonna go ahead and I think that's Jason's hand in those pictures. This was his assignment originally, but you're gonna go ahead and reverse engineer uh, an object of your choice. So something at home, um, something that you can use for whatever application that you think is something cool that you can make. So this was Jason's example, but um, he made a little tripod mounting plate for his webcam. So yeah, I mean anything you can think of, just invent something, or if you're not feeling super creative, you can also find something in your house and model it, as long as it's pretty accurate and everything's fully defined and it's of a decent. What's that? Yeah, I was just getting there. As long as it's decently complicated, you can't just make a cube or something. Make it something that's got, a few features, a couple of sketches. I think Jason didn't put any parameters in here. I've just copied him this week. But if let's say I'll add some parameters to this actually. I'm going to go ahead and say it has to include at least let's say it has to include at least 3 sketches and 3 features. How does that sound? So, to go back to our exercise, for instance, you want to see over here, you want to see at least 1, 2, 3 features. So, an extrude, a cut extrude, fillets, chamfers, all those are features. Um, and under each of these features is a sketch. So I want to see at least 3 sketches. I'll go ahead and add that in Canvas. And you can use either millimeters or inches. Um, oops. Jeez, I can't type today. Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. All right, let's go ahead and save that. So, yeah, so whatever you want to do. I mean, it can be anything from, a pencil to a paperweight that is not just a rectangle. Anything you want, and if it's small enough, we can try 3D printing it. We have a 3D printer in the lab. I haven't used it since I was in school here, so I'm gonna have to talk to Jason about how to get that going. But um, if you have a good part file and everything's fully defined and it's not going to break the 3D printer, then we can go ahead and try doing that too. So keep that in mind when you are designing something. You might end up having a real physical copy of it. So, all right, and I guess I'll end with that. Cyrus, do you want to chat with me real quick? Okay, cool. I'll pop you on over to my actually I'm gonna end my video here.